Let's keep it simple, play our game, and get Ducks in deep. Hey everybody, I'm Zach Cavanagh, Anaheim Ducks reporter for the Sporting Tribune, and we're through the first homestand of the season. The Ducks are already back out on the road, and we will get into all of it here on Ducks in Deep. We'll review those first two home games, as well as yesterday's overtime loss in Chicago, as we get ready for me to go on the road to meet the team in Boston later this week. And we'll touch on the lineup changes that occurred specifically over the weekend in Chicago, and check in with you in our first ever best social media reactions from that first week of Anaheim Ducks hockey. But first, subscribe to the Sporting Tribune on YouTube for all the latest Ducks video coverage, including new episodes of Ducks in Deep and full media sessions from pregame, postgame, morning skate, practices, and everything in between, including my coverage from Boston, again, later this week. Follow the Sporting Tribune on all platforms at Sporting Trib and read more coverage on our website, thesportingtribune.com, including, while we're on the road, stuff is still getting written there, including features like I'm writing right now about the Beckett-Seneca plan. And to see all those stories, of course, you can also follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Threads at Zach Cav. That's at ZACHCAV. And on TikTok and Blue Sky at Zach Cav Sports for all the latest Ducks news, articles, video, and so much more. And I'm now on Patreon. If you've enjoyed my coverage here with the Sporting Tribune and Ducks in Deep, please consider showing your support with a Patreon subscription as we look to grow the Sporting Tribune and Ducks in Deep into the best Ducks coverage on the internet. As I mentioned already, and will probably several times, I'm going to Boston on the road. I'm flying out tomorrow to get to Boston for Thursday's game. And if you want to see more boots on the ground coverage, like the season opening road trip in Seattle and San Jose, as well as this trip to Boston, please consider a subscription on Patreon. Link for the Patreon is in the description of this video and on all of my social media platforms. Now, let's get in deep. So let's get into those games, and we're going to go quicker through these, as you know, some of these have been almost a week gone now by the time that you start watching this video. We'll start with that home opener where the Ducks took on the Pittsburgh Penguins, and the Chris Kreider show. And also just some microcosms of this game that have shown up in the games before it and the ones after, and we'll kind of touch on those. But the Ducks give up the first goal of the game again, as they've done in every game so far this season, all the way through yesterday in Chicago. They fight back. They really play a strong game. The Quenneville influence is there. The team is doing what it wants to do. So Chris Kreider scores 2 goals, both on the power play. The power play prowess in that game was significant and is already a change. And a lot of that is you see more movement, particularly in the Pittsburgh game when they had time and space to move the puck. And Chris Kreider at the front of the net to not only score his first goal of the game, Cutter Gauthier also scoring in this game. And Kreider at the net front wins it late with a gift power play. And that'll, again, come up. But just a strong performance from Kreider, exactly what he's brought in here to do. And you see his influence in the power play. You see his influence on Leo Carlsson, who has been the Ducks' best forward throughout the early part of the season. And again, touch on that in a couple of these later games. But Kreider's prowess in that game, you could tell that this meant a lot to him to have that kind of performance in that game, that it meant a lot to start this refresh. And it also pointed out one of the Ducks' biggest weapons so far, and also something for teams to shut down in these next couple games. So that's just a little bit on that one. I don't know that we need to go too deep into that one, as we're a couple games removed from it now. Then we go into the Carolina game, which is a bit more, not bad. So the Ducks played well, I thought. The Ducks didn't play terribly. The goals the Carolina Hurricanes score are just on Ducks mistakes. Singular mistakes, not system mistakes, not problems with the roster or the lineup. Just Mikael Granlund turns the puck over in front of that just overwhelming Carolina Hurricanes pressure that they go wave after wave of. Late in the game, Jackson Lacombe, who has been, one of his strengths is being a casual, confident, slick hockey player, but he's been a little too casual in certain instances this season, and one of those being Seth Jarvis's back-breaking goal late in that game, where he gets stripped and they charge the net and they score. or I believe Jarvis stripped the puck and it was Aho in front for the backbreaker. But point remains. I don't know that this was a horribly bad mark against the Ducks. As I sort of said in my post-game video that you may have seen on socials and in the story as well. And the Ducks sort of responded in a way too that was like, that was exactly how that team plays. That is exactly how we want to play in certain instances. Quenneville said as much, that was a perfect display of stick battles and sticks in lanes and, you know, the forecheck that the Ducks are trying to put in here. They don't play the same way, of course, the man-on-man, the all-out pressure all the time, but the Ducks are certainly playing a more forward style of hockey, a more forechecking style of hockey, a more energetic style of hockey, and some of that can be taken from the Hurricanes. And, you know, I asked Cutter Gauthier specifically, is it good to have a game like that? And he said, you know, in typical Cutter fashion of, it's not good to lose any game. You don't ever want to lose, but certainly there are things there that you can use as benchmarks of, hey, we played okay with a team like that. I think Mason said the same thing of, you know, we didn't play so bad and we were really just a couple chances away. Ducks had their chances on the power play, which wasn't as good as it was against Pittsburgh. But as Mikael Granlund told us the day before that, the Ducks power play has to adapt to what's in front of them. It is not a singular static system anymore. And I think that's a good thing. And it just was a tough test against a team that pressures all out all the time. But the Ducks were still able to get around that pressure occasionally, find some lanes for shots, and they just couldn't finish those chances. A couple posts there, and they had their opportunities. So not a bad game overall for the Ducks. Something to take positive into this road trip. This 5-game roadie, which started on Sunday in Chicago. Now, as far as the actual game itself goes, the Ducks were pretty damn good. Like it's the analytics were in their favor. Yes, you know, I've had some pushback on saying that they had prowess throughout the game. Yes, the third period was a little bit slower on their end. And yes, overall it was sort of a boring, no event game. I wouldn't even say that Spencer Knight played extremely well. I don't know that he had to make otherworldly saves. And the Ducks, for their demerits, kind of passed the puck a little too much on some of those opening plays. Now, I think that some of those passes were good passes. It's just they couldn't get the handle on the other side of it. They couldn't find the finish. They didn't take the extra, couldn't take that shot. And so it was either, at the moment of truth, the puck couldn't get off their stick or the puck left their stick. So it was sort of a hard thing to gauge. Now, they were better. They probably deserved a better result overall. And, of course, the way the games like that go, an absolutely messy play leads to Frank Nazar's goal. Gudas kind of sort of head over heels in the neutral zone. And then by the time that he slides back to cover the 2-on-1, he's without his stick. He's sliding towards the back post, and Nazar gets the shot through. Tough. Just a tough one to give up, especially late second period or third period, first goal to give up in the game. Tough. And if it wasn't for a gift of a power play that they were given, I don't know that they end up scoring in that game, just the way things were going. But they do get the gift of the power play. Another, just like Pittsburgh, puck over the glass late. That gives them an opportunity. And that shows now that in the past when the Ducks would get an opportunity like that, it was sort of just, man, you're wasting another 2 minutes. You'd rather have a penalty shot or just give it away or something, because the Ducks weren't going to do anything with it. But now the power play has danger to it. And what I saw differently in the power play here, I don't know that I noticed it too much in the Carolina game, just because they're pressuring all over the place. But Chicago very, very clearly was not going to let Chris Kreider get that puck down low. And so what that does is it opens up lanes for Jackson Lacombe to get shots through. Leo Carlson to find shooting lanes. And when you try to force a pass into Kreider and it deflects to an open area, Mason McTavish is able to step into it, blast it home, send that game into overtime. A well-deserved point. The Ducks deserved something out of that game, and to get the point is well enough good. So you go to the overtime, and again, chances. I think it was either Mason or Leo ringed it off the post, and they had the shot. And then it came to a point where maybe they pushed too much, and Leo pushed on a solo effort that was smothered. It was never going to go anywhere. Leo and Mason push up ice on a 2-on-1 that gets snuffed out. And they were out there for a long time. Puck goes the other way. 3-on-1 the other way. Lucas Dostal makes an incredible save. And if Mason had just a little bit more energy left in the tank, he's probably able to engage on that back post, deny the shot in front, and maybe the Ducks live to have another shot, go to a shootout, something. But an unfortunate play overall. And again, a messy one in a game where the Ducks were the cleaner, more precise team mostly throughout. And I think, as I said in my observation story on the game, just if they can play that way every night, if they can take the efforts that they've put out in almost every game here, they will be the better team more nights than not, and they will be able to win more games than they had last year. But you'll be at least in position to win a game more often than not this year. The rough stuff is that they gave up the first goal again, and that's 5 games in a row now. When I asked Mason about it after the Carolina game, he's kind of gave a not flippant, but sort of unserious answer of, I guess we just got to score the first one. Or I think when he said, wait, have we given it up on all 4? And I said, yeah, all 4. And he said, well, I guess we have to warm up better. I'm not really sure. So curious to see what they go forward here in terms of fixing things and finding that way forward. But they'll have their opportunities against a Nashville team that they should be better than tomorrow, and against the Boston team that they should be better than, and then some real tests at the end of the trip with Tampa and Florida. But I think you can't really have any major complaints with the way the Ducks are playing right now. Just got to find the back of they are finding the back of the net. They are playing to a better rhythm and a better pace than in seasons past. So the Quenneville experiment is working so far, and we'll see how that goes moving forward. So as far as things to dissect at this point in the year, I don't know that there's a whole lot, to get into the nitty gritty on. The defensive system is improving. I thought that there was some really good system work done in the Chicago game. You could see them sort of learning, like recognizing the reads and where to be, and kind of diagnosing, oh, I need to be over here now, and I need to be over here now. And I think they did a pretty good job at that in the Chicago game. The Carolina game is a bit of Carolina imposing their will and just a few singular mistakes that end up in the Ducks net. So I don't know that there's too much to dissect in terms of that. The offense, again, they're scoring goals for the most part, or at least generating the chances. Only the 1 goal against Carolina, only the 1 goal against Chicago. So maybe you want to see more finish, and particularly from the bottom pairings, Frank Vetrano has been a little invisible to start the season. Troy Terry hasn't produced the way that I'm sure he wants to. And I thought they had their best looks of the season so far, that duo with Mikael Granlund in Chicago, but still just not finding that extra lane just yet. But if the Ducks are playing this well right now without those other guys producing at this point, I think that's almost a good sign. Honestly, like if this team can play to this general state, and you can get Leo scoring and Kreider scoring and Cutter scoring, Mason McTavish with his first goal in that Chicago game, if your top guys are producing and kind of carrying the weight, you'll only be a better team when the third line clicks in. When the fourth line, as we'll talk about here in a second, sort of coalesces into an actual something. Once your defense starts scoring, Jackson Lacombe only recorded his first point of the season on that McTavish goal. So I think the only ways to improve right now is simply production. And I think as a general style of play, the Ducks are doing okay. The things to look into now is the lineup itself. So the first true wrinkle of the season, that yes, Troy Terry had already moved from that top line down to the third line and switched with Killorn, but Leo and Killorn had played together. That's fine. Vetrano and Terry had played together. That's fine. I think there's nothing to really complain about or dissect, screw off the minutia about it. So Quenneville goes with an 11-7, kind of a curveball in Chicago. And we had talked to Quenneville before they left in the practice on Saturday, and Derek Lee of the Hockey News had asked, as any of us would, that was Sam Colangelo going to get in the lineup finally? What did he need to do to sort of prove himself? And Quenneville said, oh, no, he'll be in there. And based on the lines they were running at practice, it seemed like, okay, Colangelo will go in where he'll swap out for Nikita Nesterenko. I don't know why those two can't play on the line together, but talk about that in a second. With Ross Johnston being on the left wing of that fourth line, which had sort of been steady, as we've gone through here. The fourth line had been Johnston and Paling through the end of the preseason, start of the regular season, and it was Seneca before he got moved up with Ryan Strome being out, and now Nesterenko and Colangelo slot in. So it seemed like, okay, 12-6. You call up Ian Moore, as we all expected they would call up a defenseman before the long East Coast road trip. He'll be your extra guy. See how it goes. And then they roll out the 11-7, where Johnston, as many people have been clamoring for, is dropped from the lineup. And when I thought that Johnston was going to come out, I thought they would put in Nesterenko and Colangelo as the wingers there and have a speedy, impactful fourth line there. Instead, Ian Moore slots in as the 7th D, occasionally playing as a 12th forward. On the broadcast, Brian Hayward had said that, Ian Moore's here to limit Jackson Lacombe's minutes. Well, he didn't really do that because Jackson still played 25 minutes and led the Ducks in ice time. And Ian Moore got some shifts in the overtime. He was out on the ice ultimately for the game-winning goal. I don't know what to make of that. And it's something that Quenneville, I guess, has done over the years, is do the 11-7 on certain nights to sort of give you different options. And he said that Ian Moore gives them options, but we assumed that was just options of lefty playing on the left or right side to kind of do whatever you want with the D pairs. So an interesting wrinkle of, I don't know why we can't get both Colangelo and Nesterenko on the fourth line together. I don't know why you call up Ian Moore to play him as a forward. I don't know why, if you're going to play him as a 7D, you're not truly alleviating some of the minutes from these guys. And even with Moore slotting in as a forward, like Leo Carlson played almost as much as Jackson Lacombe did during the game. So you're not really balancing out the minutes any differently. Ian Moore ends up playing more than Pavel Mintyukov does in the game. I don't know. It's sort of an odd thing to examine, but that's what happened. Again, it's something to keep an eye on as we move forward into these next few games of the road trip and see if Ian Moore slots in again in Nashville. If they roll 11-7 again, I don't know. But that was something kind of unexpected for all of us, and it's unfortunate that none of us were there to truly ask about this. But as I said, I'll be in Boston, before the game on Thursday. They will have a practice Wednesday, I'm told, so I will be able to attend that. And, we'll get into the line combinations. Quenneville has said that the lines are fluid. And the players have all sort of said that Quenneville is known to jumble up the lines late in the game. So you just sort of have to be ready when your name is called and see where you're at and who you're with on the ice. So I can't complain too much. I think the right buttons are being pressed. The guys are on their toes. It seems that they're still full of energy. And I think we as Ducks observers are so used to the rigidity that Greg Cronin played with, and to have this fluidity of Joel Quenneville is a bit of a confusing breath of fresh air. So again, I don't know if there's any point to be made here other than we're going to monitor it, and I'm intrigued by what the options are. The other things in terms of the lineup, and I'm writing a bit about this in my Beckett Seneca story, is by the end of this road trip, Beckett will have played the 9 games that he's allowed before he plays a 10th game that would burn his entry-level contract first year. Doesn't seem like they're slowing down at all. If anything, Beckett has looked even better off the puck again and holding on to the puck and making these plays. Yes, he still gets bumped off a little bit. And yes, he took a maintenance day last week for a lower body ailment, as it was called. They're managing him, and they're sort of letting him dictate when he needs time. And it's working. I think he's going to stay past the 9 at the end of the trip. I'm pretty sure that even when Ryan Strome comes back, I don't know how you break up that line. So Ryan Strome, by the way, is supposed to join the Ducks on the trip at some point. Unclear if he will actually play. Jansen Harkins returned to practice as well in a red non-contact jersey on the trip with the team, also not expected to play. He's still got, as far as the timeline was going, 4 weeks left of his recovery from an upper body injury. Ryan Strome is undisclosed, so unsure there. But when it comes to the lineup, there's going to be wrinkles, and as they try to figure out what is the right thing to do, and they found some things that worked with Carlson and Kreider and the kid line, and trying to push some buttons in the bottom six and the D-core to continue to find out what will and won't work. So things to track as we move on here in just the second week of Anaheim Ducks hockey. All right, now let's get into the fun stuff. I'd sort of teased something when we were starting this of trying to have some fun with the community and getting you more involved in this show and kind of tracking you. And I know that there's some funny members of the community out there, very talented in your quick meme making. And so I figured, I've seen this on, I'll give credit to where credit's due. The P1 podcast, the Formula One podcast, shout out to Matt and Tommy. Every week they kind of comb F1 Twitter to find the best meme posts from the game or from the race weekend. And it's a little easier for them because it's concentrated. So I figured I'd involve you guys. I put the call out on social media, and hopefully you see this. And if you missed it, get ready for whenever we do it next time. Just make sure to use the hashtag now, #DucksInDeep, hashtag #DucksInDeep. And I'll comb through those the next time I do this to find some reactions, or I will also put out the call out post where you can post under there and show me what you got. So, I was hoping for a little more interaction here, but it's the first time. I got some good ones, and we're going to go through some here from Twitter and Reddit specifically is where I got most of these. So we'll start. We'll leave. There is, of course, the Anaheim Ducks memes account. Shout out to you. And we got a bunch from you, and we'll run through them. But we can't this isn't the Anaheim Ducks memes in deep. So we're gonna spread it around. So we'll start with a post here from Anaheim Calling, which I saw this graphic too, and I don't know what's going on there from this. I guess just NHL type Twitter account from Inside the Rink, posting a graphic of the schedule of what was the Ducks home opener, and everybody has logo. The Ducks playing apparently the entire NHL, as Anaheim Calling here points out. What do you mean playing the entire NHL? It can feel like that when you're going up against Sidney Crosby, I bet, but I don't know that I think the power plays were ultimately in the Ducks' favor, and they do come out with a win there. So I love a good graphic mess up because it's everybody makes their mistakes. In the preseason, for Victory Plus had one that was it was a Ducks Kings, or was it Ducks Sharks preseason game, but the logos were Ducks Kings and the words Ducks Sharks were flipped. So Sharks was over the Ducks logo and Ducks was over the Kings logo. It happens. So I imagine that was just a flub, but I don't know what's going on there, but I enjoyed it when I saw it as well. So a good laugh for everybody. That was over on Twitter. We'll check in with Reddit, where only a couple of responses, but I did like this one from Cherokee Hawkman. When you call your Ducks fan friend and remember that they went from Cronin to Quenneville, with, of course, a very classic laughing gif from the internet. Look, I've said it. Everybody said it. The immediate difference in Joel Quenneville hockey to Greg Cronin hockey, I don't know how we're all still standing at this point. It's faster. It's more energetic. It has so much more going for it. And the results are there, whether it's analytically, whether it's the Ducks have only been under 500 since the first game of the season. They've got 5 points through 5 games. That's a pretty decent pace, all things considered. And you hope that ticks up, of course, because if it's a point per game, 82 points at the end of the season is not going to get you to the playoffs. But again, if the Ducks are playing like they are more nights than not, they're going to get better, and they're going to get the results. And that's not, and whether it's the pace of play, just simply scoring goals, whether it's the power play, none of that was stuff that we could have said during the Greg Cronin era. The defensive metrics still need to be worked on a little bit. But If that can be offset by strong goaltending again, I think Lucas Dostal had a great bounce back in Chicago. And if Lucas Dostal can be good and the pucks start going in the net, I think everything can be outweighed a little bit. So I think we're all having a laugh right now. It's a good fun time to be Ducks fan under Joel Quenneville instead of Greg Cronin. And it's fun for us in the media because we like covering high-scoring games. We don't want to cover low-scoring grindouts. And I don't know. It's been good vibes so far, so I don't know that anybody can complain on that front. So thank you, Cherokee Hawkman, over on Reddit. And then we'll go to the Anaheim Ducks memes accounts. We'll start with this. I love the Last Dance Michael Jordan. I took this personally meme. Kreider's washed and won't be good in Anaheim. Chris Kreider? I took that personally. Kreider has been rejuvenated. Like, yeah, no goals in the last 2 games. Are we concerned? No. I think he's been a good, not anchor, but kind of solidified Leo Carlsson's game, giving him options at the front of the net. He's obviously solidified the power play by making that net front presence and that the just keeping a strong hand on a stick and being ready to go. And I think, for anybody that said that he's lost a step, I think his speed has been pretty good. I think his forecheck has been pretty good. He's been and will continue to be a vital member of this Ducks team. I think he's rejuvenated by being here. He's happy to be here based on his comments, and it will only continue to build. So I don't know what you can project for Chris Kreider in terms of stats, but he's not washed. He still has plenty left in the tank, especially if he's playing on Leo Carlsson's wing, where he can, at the very least, take up space in front of the net and cash in the garbage once in a while. So Chris Kreider doing quite well. We'll also go to this Beckett Seneca meme. I love this GIF, of course. And apologies for these GIFs not playing if they're there. I don't know that I'm technologically capable of that with how I edit these videos, to be perfectly honest. Doing this little, jerry-rigged. So we'll bear with me. I'm doing my best. One-man show over here. But the laughing at the Chipotle table, guys just falling over themselves. For everybody that called them crazy, the Ducks crazy for drafting Beckett Seneca, yes, the Ivan Davidov comparisons were always there. And, man, this kid doesn't look great in the preseason. And, man, he's not strong enough. And, man, the kid's got it. Whatever it is, the kid has it. And it's not just putting those goals in early. It's not just, the assists. As I mentioned, his off-puck play has been great. Like Mason McTavish doing sort of not the same as Chris Kreider, but doing some dirty work in the Chicago game in particular to open up lanes for Cutter Gauthier and Beckett Seneca. Beckett starting to find his handles a little bit now that he's getting comfortable to make some moves and make some plays. And he's been a net front presence himself. He needs to get a little grindier in front of the net, but from what I saw him in practice, he was working in front of the net. He's been talking to Chris Kreider. He's working on these things, and he's arriving. He's getting ready to be part of this NHL lineup, full stop. And, I think we all got a little smile on our face too when you see him in the Carolina game get his nose dirty, get in a fight. He doesn't get credited for the fight, but he tried to take on at least 3 different guys in that scrum, and he held his own, and he's showing a little bit of a pest streak, and he's at an NHL level in terms of chirpiness. Like, he's getting in there. He said some words to Chris Letang after Letang gave him that lower body ailment that he got over pretty quickly. I can't say that anybody's disappointed with the Beckett Seneca experience so far. So again, it's been pretty good. I don't think anyone's crazy now for the Ducks having taken Beckett Seneca at the time. And the last one, we'll keep this short. Sharks fans watching Kreider tie the game with a minute left. That was a wild game in San Jose. Obviously, we talked about it last week. When I was sitting up in the press box, at that point in the game, I'm usually trying to work ahead a little bit, especially knowing that the Ducks had told me that they had to get out of there quick, so I wanted to make my work quick. So you start working on your story a little bit. And, anybody that's been in the Ducks press box, particularly Derek Lee and Patrick of the Hockey News, package practice of the Hockey News, they'll tell you I've jinxed this team more often than not by saying like, all right, this game's kind of playing its course. I'm going to write out my paragraphs here and get a head start on my work for the night, so I'm not there till all hours of the evening. And sure enough, Chris Kreider scores that goal to make it 6-6 at the time. And I just sat there kind of whoa, I cannot believe this game has gone as it has, eliminated the 2-goal deficits twice. They were down by 2-3 times. They eliminated the deficit fully twice. And then to go into overtime with Leo ripping it. Blew my hair back too, man. Was it a later night in San Jose that I wanted to be? Yes. Was it just kind of eye-opening to what this team can do, especially when its offense is rolling? Absolutely. So blow my hair back, call me stunned. This was me up into the press box as well. Not just the Sharks fans below, but me up in the rafters of the SAP Center. So that's our first look at the reactions, social media stuff. Trying to have a little fun, just see what you guys are all about and, include you in what we're doing here at Ducks in Deep. So I don't know how often we'll do this. Maybe it'll be a monthly thing. But again, if you want to be involved, hashtag Ducks in Deep on your memes, on what you think is a funny post. And I'll be sure to comb through those when the next time comes. And of course, I will put out another call out when the time comes so you guys can send those posts to me on that post on Twitter, Instagram, Threads, as well as Reddit. It'll be on there as well. So that's that. And that's going to do it for Ducks in Deep today. We're going to try to keep things tight and tidy. As I mentioned already a few times, I will be in Boston. I'm getting on a plane tomorrow to go to Boston. I'll be there for a bit longer on the front and back end, visiting a friend there. Haven't seen him in a bit. Excited to go see my buddy and to cover this team on the road again and in a practice environment and on the road in Boston. That'll be fun for me and hopefully fun for you guys to continue to get some of the best quality Ducks coverage on the internet when we can on the road, every single day when they're at home. And we'll continue to provide all that coverage here on the Sporting Tribune. So if you want to see all that coverage from Boston, if you want to read my work as I go through this week, follow Sporting Tribune on all platforms at Sporting Trib. Subscribe to the Sporting Tribune YouTube channel for all the latest Ducks in Deep videos and all that practice and game video, as well as read stories on thesportingtribune.com. For everything else, make sure to follow me on all the platforms, Twitter, Instagram, and Threads at Zach Cav, at ZACHCAV, and on TikTok and Blue Sky at Zach Cav Sports. We're getting ready for this is a big trip, in terms of banking some early points against some teams you should beat, some tests at the end of it to see if they're ready to again compete with some of these playoff level teams in Tampa and Florida, and see where the team is when they get back for the Halloween game next week, which will be the John Gibson return. But we will deal with that when I get back from Boston, when the team gets back from Florida, and everything else here on Ducks in Deep. So until next time, see you at the rink.